Hi folks, Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Coming here, blog post I want to share with you, of course, review the latest in social media and technology. This is another phone versus comparison that we do. As you know, we have all the major phone companies sending us all the latest phones, so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and the ChrisVossShow.com so you can see all the latest and greatest cool stuff that's coming out and the comparisons of the phones. So, this is a comparison video between the Motorola Razr Maxx HD, and you can find this at VerizonWireless.com. It's VerizonWireless.com. This is the AT&T iPhone. You can find this at AT&T.com. It's the iPhone 5, the latest version of the iPhone that's out there on the marketplace as of current. And we're going to do a comparison between these two phones to give you an idea as to how they compare up against one another. So let's take a look at that. We'll run through some basic benchmarking, and then we'll show you how the cameras work, etc., etc. On the Droid Razr Maxx HD, what we're looking at is a device that stands in dimensions of 5.19 in height, 2.67 in width, and 0.37 in thickness. On the iPhone 5, comparatively, we're looking at 4.87 inches by 2.31 inches by 0.30 inches in thickness. On the Droid Razr Maxx, we're looking at 5.54 ounces of weight and 3.95 ounces of weight on the iPhone 5. The battery on the Droid Razr Maxx is huge. It's 3,300 milliamp hours. 3,300 milliamp hours, which is pretty freaking huge for a I think it's probably the largest battery on a mobile phone at this point. On the iPhone 5, we're looking at a 1440 milliamp hour battery. On the Android Maxx HD Razr, you're looking at a display that's in OLED full color resolution, 720 by 1280 pixels, 4.7 inch diagonal screen, Super AMOLED. And on the display for the iPhone 5, it's a 4-inch screen, 640 by 1136 pixels, 326 ppi, IPS LCD technology with a 16.7 million color screen. The processor on the Droid Razr Maxx HD is a 1.5 gigahertz dual core processor. On the processor for the iPhone 5, it's an A6 Apple A6 chip, they call it. It's a dual core 1.3 gigahertz Apple Swift. It's got 1 gigabyte of RAM and 16 gigabytes of storage, or you can get 32 and 64 if you upgrade to higher models. This particular model only has 16. On the memory for the HD Maxx, or for the Maxx for the Droid Razr Maxx HD is 32 gigabytes of internal storage, 1 gigabyte of RAM. It also has upgradable memory where you can take and upgrade the memory with a micro SD card that you can put in the side of it. Now, the Motorola Maxx has an NFC technology, which the iPhone does not. That's one stickable feature to it. The Droid Razr Maxx runs on Android 4.04 software currently, and on the iPhone 5 it's running on Apple's OS, the iOS 6.1 I think is what we're running on right now. There was just a new update that came out. And let's take a look. On the camera, on the Droid, you're looking at 8 megapixels on the back of the camera, front megapixels of a 1.3 megapixel, and of course it does 1080p HD video out the back. On the camera on the iPhone 5, you're looking at 8 megapixels on the back, 1080p HD 30 frames per second, of course, out the back also, and 1.2 megapixels on the front-facing camera. Looking at both these, it's really a decision that you have to make as to what sort of OS you like. One thing is unique to the Motorola Android product is you can pull the left and get a quick settings, where some other Android processes just have a finite swipe or an infinite swipe where you can go through different screens of apps that you might take and have. But many people like the ability to utilize the customizable features on the Android OS product to be able to make new pages, to be able to include widgets and everything else to the product. Many people like those features, and to them it's really fun. They can create live wallpapers, as you can see here, all sorts of different things. Many people like that customizable feature with the Android product. With the OS product, you just have a simple swipe. You can make folders just like you can on the Android product. But that's pretty much about it. You have a home button that will take you to the home. Both have drop-down notification menus these days. You can decide which ones work best for you. There's one or two widgets that are available with the iPhone 5. That's about it. With the Android product, you have a number of widgets depending upon the app that you can take and do at least 50 to 100 depending upon how many apps you have on your phone. Widgets they have, it seems. I would say 50 is probably a better number. So it's really up to you which process you want to take and use, what customizable features you want to take and use, of course what screen size you want to use, what OS you want to use, all that good stuff. In taking a look at both devices, we've got at the top the Motorola. We've got a speaker that's here, front-facing camera. Speaker, of course, is for calls. We've got a back button, a home button, and a recent apps button. These are capacitive touchscreen buttons. On the iPhone 5, we've got a front-facing camera on the top above the speaker for calling. On the right or left-hand side here is a sensor for when your face is close to the device. It turns the thing off so you don't radiate your face so much. And there's a simple home button. On the back of both devices, we're looking at there's a camera eye that we have on the Motorola right up here. We have a microphone, front-facing microphone, which is good to have for video. There's a lamp, light, flash here. You get your speaker here. That's pretty much it. It has this kind of beautiful, I forget what they call this, kind of like it kind of looks like that bulletproof material. On the back of the iPhone 5, we have a your camera eye. You have a small microphone hole. You have a lamp flash there, and it of course has a sealed back, as does the Droid. So that makes a difference. They're both 4G LTE phones, so that's also good for them. Let's take a look around and about with each of these devices so you can see how they look in their sides. Here you can see we have the top of the Droid, and on the top we have a small earphone jack that's there. Down the left hand side we have a 2-drawer SIM card tray, which is kind of interesting. One side is for the micro SD card for the expandable memory, and the other is the SIM card tray. We also have a micro USB charging sync area. This is also really cool too, a micro HDMI output, so you can use this on your TV, HDMI TV, which is really sweet. It has this interesting build to it. This kind of a steel hardened build, and you can see here we just got screws on the bottoms. Down the right hand side we've got these rocker buttons for volume and up and down, and then power, and they kind of have a hardened grid to them. They're definitely masculine in their nature, and it's really a phone that has this steel, really solid build feel to it. Not to take away from the iPhone in any way, shape, or form, but it has kind of some very distinct steelish things with the Droid. With the iPhone 5, what we're looking at is on the top we have a power button. It has this kind of sleek, polished aluminum or whatever metal it is going around the outside. That does look cool, and it's got some beveled edges that mirror on the white version. There's a mute button. We've got your volume up and down buttons. On the bottom we have an earphone jack, and you have your speakers, sync, charge hole, and then we have a nano SIM card area to put your SIM card in, which is very cool. And that's pretty much the comparison between these two on the backs, fronts, and around and about. Okay, so here you can see the Geekbench 2 scores that we got on both devices. The running process, this is usually normally seen as the best way to benchmark or best way to score this out. 1477 is what we got on the Droid. I think we've gotten higher before. There was 1620. That's probably the highest I've seen out of my iPhone 5. You can see here the integer score 1036 against 1267, 2043 on floating point score against 2091, memory score 1695 against 1702, and 613 stream score against 1009. These tend to vary depending upon how much stuff is going on in the background. I'm going to go ahead and page down through some of this, and you can take and pause it if you like. I usually normally just look at the total scores, but some people are obsessed with seeing the other scores, so like I said, you can pause it at any time. And what's nice about these apps that you'll see us using is you can also use them on your device to see how it compares with these. Okay, so let's take a look at the camera on the device. It's got an impressive camera to it. It definitely is a great camera. I'm very impressed. On the Motorola, let's take a look. You've got, of course, zoom over here where you can zoom in and out. You can also set up to where you can use the volume button for zoom. In settings, you got some interesting settings here. You've got your widescreen for 8 megapixel. You can also click this and it will go to 6 megapixels to match the screen. Kind of interesting. You can see here you can also use the volume key function as zoom. You can geotag. You can pick your storage location and shutter tone if you want a shutter tone to be able to take and do. I thought it was kind of interesting. It actually defaulted this 6 megapixel setup, and of course you can see it's the same for the 8 here. Of course, these are most of the things you get with most Android products. You've got pre-made effects you can take and put into play. You've got scenes you can take and do. The modes you can take and do. One thing that was kind of irritating, though, is it kept suggesting HDR mode in some cases, and I couldn't figure out a way to turn that suggestion off, which is really irritating. It's like a box that pops up here. It's probably the one thing I've kind of gone, what is that? The exposure here, of course, you can adjust, and of course you have your lamp exposure depending upon whether you're in shutter mode, camera mode, or video mode. As in this case we are in video mode, so let's go ahead and kill that light. You can see here we have several different functions. Of course, your normal video MMS, slow motion. That's kind of interesting. A lot of phones now are coming with the features of slow or fast motion already built into where you don't need an app, so you've got slow motion mode, which is pretty cool there. You can see here HD video resolution you can adjust. Of course, you got zoom once again with the thing, and on the video resolution you can choose between a number of definitions depending upon what you want to fit your mode. You also have effects, of course, and you also have audio scenes that you can take and do. I guess set up stereo, wind reduction, or concert. I guess wind reduction would be good, and the concert too for that matter. And then of course the thing with the Droid is you can slide that to the side, and you've got that at your beck and call if you ever need it. Of course, you have your ability to switch between your front and back facing cameras. You've got your shutter buttons here, your active record button. You can of course switch between your camera and your video there. Let's take a look. Now, the one part that we weren't excited about with the camera was it has a hard time taking really good pictures and focusing in the flash lamp complete darkness situation. So we took this in complete darkness. If you can't tell, it's actually a closet. Okay, this one was a picture that came out fairly well. We had trouble with some of the other ones that we were taking and doing with them trying to get focus sharply on the image. A lot of the images came out blurry. In video mode, it's got a really great lamp to it. And in the video mode, it's got an awesome lamp, and it picks up very well and just shines the room. Not quite totally excited about how well it focused during the whole time, but it did an okay job. The video lamp we were very much more impressed with. It's got a huge lamp to it, just lights up really well, and you can see the colors pop and come out very well. So the only thing we just really struggled with was the camera taking a picture with the flash. Now, let's take a look at some other pictures. Here, once again, we're trying to take pictures with the flash in the complete darkness. This is shot into the sun, so there's a little bit of darkness to this photo, but it takes great outdoor pictures. Very awesome, beautiful colors, everything else on it. We're very impressed with it. Here you can see that there's the video player that's going on with it is shot in well-lit situations. It's got a very beautiful video player and very beautiful screens, colors. You can see here us using the zoom. The zoom's awesome to use. Very impressed with it. We really like the camera on the phone. Here's another close-up shot. It takes really good close-up shots, and this was what really surprises about this video. This is a shot where I'm shooting probably an inch off of the wood, and most cameras can't handle getting this close unless you have a macro lens. This lens did really well. I was very surprised. And the Motorola camera is really good. You can tell, though, there's a lot of pickup of reds and greens. You'll see that also here in this photo, where it picks up a lot of reds and greens pretty heavily. very much darker than they really are. Here with the apple and the orange and our marble top in the kitchen, really, oh wow, it comes out heavy even in a well-lit situation. So that was one of the trade-offs. But yeah, it takes awesome close-up shots, great video lamp shots, beautiful shots otherwise in both video and photographs. The only place we saw a struggle, like I said, was shooting in the dark, complete darkness with the flash and being able to get the flash focus sequence down properly. But overall, just awesome camera work. Definitely, I would say this is in my top 3 or 5 cameras that I love to be able to use on a regular basis with the mobile phone, I should say.
Okay, so let's talk the camera. The camera has a lot of cool features, but it is very simple if you're used to an Android phone. Now, the shutter speed we notice is much faster, and of course loading everything is much faster. If you've got to take a quick photo, you're going to get to it a lot faster with the iPhone 5. Now, very simple format that they have with the iPhone 5, or most of the iPhones, if you're familiar with them. You have the grid, the HDR. Now with iOS 6 on the 4S and 5, you now have a panorama version. We've used it a little bit, but I think there's still some apps that more people feel comfortable with in how they operate and how they work. There is the front and back, of course, changer. There's, of course, the switch between the photograph and the video. There's also the camera shutter button, if you will, and there's an area to get into your pictures. Let's take a look at the pictures. Now, it does take much better colored, it's an edge of better pictures over the 4 and 4S. Most definitely. Is it distinctive enough to go out and spend $700? I don't know. You have to add up all the elements of the iPhone 5. But the pictures are definitely improved with the quality of what they put into the optics and improvement. So I really do like the pictures better on the iPhone 5. You can see here some great colors that we're looking at. Now, they've also made some improvements in how well it deals in low light. You can see here a video that we're doing in a low light scenario that comes out really well, and of course that's one of the great things. This is actually a flash photo. You almost can't tell because it lights everything up, but this is a flash photo in a low light situation. Great colors, great detail. Here's a video. We usually use the floor of my video to see how it comes to the accuracy of color and the lines and everything. So you can see here it came out very well there. A little bit brighter than what the floor of my floor is, but you can see that it's much darker in this photo, but that's video for you. So it takes great, sharp, beautiful pictures, just amazing stuff. With the panorama version, of course, you have the edit ability to go up and edit. You can take out red eyes, you can take and crop, you can take and enhance the picture with colors, and you can also change and edit the photo to rotate it. In going into the panorama area, you basically click on it, and it gives you a thing where you basically move the iPhone continuously as you're going around and take photos, and it keeps track of where you're at. It's an okay panoramic app. I don't think I'd spend an extra $700 on this phone for it.
So all in all, we like both products. It's really up to you to get the one that works for you and works best. You can go to VerizonWireless.com. That's VerizonWireless.com and see the Motorola Droid Razr Maxx HD. Definitely an awesome phone. Incredible battery life. Just massive battery life. You can also go to AT&T.com and see the iPhone 5. It comes in white and black. You can choose which color works best for you, and of course which memory size you want: 16 gigabytes, 32 gigabytes, or 64 gigabytes. So go ahead and say hello to our friends at both companies. Tell them Chris Voss sent you. Chris Voss tested, Chris Voss approved. Be sure to check back in the ChrisVossShow.com often. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We get all the major phones from the phone companies, so you'll definitely want to get a hold of all the newest and latest, greatest when we get a hold of it. Thanks for coming by, and be sure to check back often.